Hey everybody, welcome back to our VGC Pokemon analysis. We are here with our next Pokemon, Talonflame. Was requested by a couple people even, and again, I did have it in the lineup, so that worked out really well. So I decided to go ahead and run this one next. Talonflame is it's a cool Pokemon, honestly, and it's probably by far, every generation gets its, generic bird Pokemon thing, but Talonflame was probably the coolest and best one of all the generations. And it definitely had some notoriety in the past, specifically in Generation 6 before the Galing's nerf, which we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it's a cool Pokemon that stat-wise it's not incredible except for its high speed, but for whatever reason this thing could be a menace. And it solely was in its ability Gale Wings, so let's talk about that. So Gale Wings, in Generation 6 when it came out, it just gave all of its flying type moves priority of +1. So that's really significant because you have a +1 priority 120 power move. That's pretty significant. So you also got the Tailwind, the +1 Tailwind, just like you got the Prankster Tailwind from something like Whimsicott. So that made it super significant. And then, and with that, a lot of people could opt to just run Adamant with a choice band, and that's something you definitely saw in the past. Yeah, that's something you saw in the past with Talonflame. So 2014 is where Talonflame was used a lot, and a lot of these choice band sets are pretty common. And it would be either Adamant or Jolly. I think Jolly was pretty common just because you want to try and speed tie other Talonflame. But one thing that was interesting was a Jolly Talonflame couldn't KO an opposing Talonflame with just 4 HP, but an Adamant one could. So if you ran Adamant and you're up against a Jolly, even though you'd move after it, you would KO it back and it wouldn't KO you. So Adamant and Jolly is always interesting. Was always interesting when I used it. But Adamant made sense because you're always going to get those priority Brave Birds and Tailwinds. But yeah, this thing just it hit hard. Not as hard as some things, but for having a priority move, it hit pretty hard. So Pokemon definitely was a menace at times. The choice band set especially, because you're hitting pretty hard with that, and it has Flare Blitz to do that as well. Yeah, really scary Pokemon. It's not just offensive either. It can be a little more utility, and this was a more common Talonflame set in 2016. Early in 2016, Talonflame was incredibly common. Its usage slowed down later, but it was really good utility Pokemon to provide support for your big heavy hitters like Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. And so you'd see more Focus Sash variants, sometimes Life Orb, but typically Focus Sash with your 2 attacking moves. Tailwind was the big one, giving that priority Tailwind. And then Quick Guard was actually really common, for at least at first, because Fake Out was everywhere between Mega Kangaskhan and even Smeargle. Yeah, there was a lot of Fake Out, and then a lot of Prankster stuff from Thundurus so this thing supported something like Xerneas from Prankster Thunderwave from Thundurus, or Prankster Taunt to stop Geomancy. Taunt was another option on these things. Oh, where is it? Up here. Taunt was another option on these in the past, as well as Will-O-Wisp. So a Focus Sash utility set, and I could see that still being pretty useful. The downside to the Sash obviously is you take the recoil with your attacks. But the thought was you get a Tailwind off, and then you go down. If you get attacked, you get knocked down to your Sash, and if you don't get doubled up, you still get one more Brave Bird or a Quick Guard if need be. So that was kind of the idea to that. So it was kind of a mixed utility and still do damage, and it was really helpful with Trick Room. It could help against Trick Room because even if Trick Room's up, you're still firing off this big Brave Bird, especially if you had more a Life Orb or something. I don't anticipate Sash being useful in the next series, and that's because of the nerf Gale Wings got in Generation 7. So Gale Wings only activates when the Pokemon's at full HP. So that put a damper in the Gale Wings fun, which kind of unfortunate. I thought it was a little overkill, I think it would have been cool if it was like only when it's above half HP or something. But nonetheless, that definitely made Talonflame a lot more useful. Not to say it didn't. Not that it didn't see use though. It definitely still had usefulness, especially like Z move variants. They could put the Z move on and get the priority Z move, and still have the priority Brave Bird if they don't get hit that turn. And then you still get like the priority Tailwind early game. So it did have some usefulness, and so I know I saw it in 2017 a little bit, especially with the Tailwind. So, but that was Generation 7. I don't remember seeing it much in 2018 or 19. Maybe a little bit, but not nearly like in Generation 6 formats. So, yeah, it took a really big hit with the Gale Wings nerf. But still useful nonetheless. Like, it could still run damage. I think with the Gale Wings nerf, then you absolutely had to run like a Jolly Nature, purely because you're not gonna be able to have that Gale Wings option every time. So that base 126 speeds outspeeds a lot of stuff, and that's pretty crucial. Yeah, I think Jolly's the way to go with it now for sure. So moving forward, I think Talonflame definitely has a place. Like, even with the Gale Wings nerf, its high speed already is really good, especially in this format where there's not a whole lot outspeeding it. Dragapult for sure, and then like the random Jolteon if you actually face a Jolteon. Spoiler, or not spoilers, but a little secret, I used Jolteon for a little bit. Mainly on Showdown, but it was fun. I just wanted a fast full switch. Because I missed Tamagotchi. That's sidetracking. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I think definitely a Life Orb set would be really good. Well, you could Dynamax still, but definitely like, because you can still get like a turn 1 Tailwind, and that, I think, where Talonflame's usefulness will really shine is in the speed mechanics change that we got in Generation 8. So Whimsicott can do it better because it can always Tailwind with that priority. Obviously Talonflame needs the full health, but for like a lead situation, that could be really solid. Like, you just have that priority Tailwind immediately for your partner to then get the immediate speed boost. So I think that's where Talonflame definitely is going to have some viability in this format, is that it's mainly turn 1 priority Tailwind. But even if it's not priority, like, you're still at max speed, you're still outspeeding a lot of stuff. And then with the Life Orb, you just get more damage out of these two. I also think it could be a decent Dynamaxer, where like you're going for the priority, where you're getting the boosts with the max Airstream and their priority. So at that point, I actually wouldn't run Life Orb. I would try running Sharp Beak, because then you get the priority max Airstream. I'm assuming it's the priority. It should, because it's a flying type move. But you get the priority max Airstream, boost the speed of your partner, and if Talonflame doesn't take any damage, then you still got boosted max Airstreams. On this set, you probably don't need Protect if you don't want it. Like, you can just use Tailwind to max guard if you need to, and then once your Dynamax is over, you have Tailwind to set that up later if need be. And there's a few other options, and like, so it's a good time to kind of look at some of its options. Like, I know like a Dynamax set, I would opt for another attacking move like U-Turn. Yeah, I think U-Turn would probably be one of my more go-tos there. Or it's about all, like, yeah, its move pool's not great, like, to be honest. It's got a few good flying moves, got some fighting moves. There's Flame Charge, which I don't know if I'd recommend that. Quick Attack to pick off if you need it. I don't think it needs it. It does have some more like status moves that are helpful, like Taunt, Roost, Will-O-Wisp, of course Tailwind we already saw. Another one, Quick Guard. Quick Guard could be useful still. Quick Guard's always a useful move with, you know, Fake Out being always prevalent even today. So you could always opt for that. Protect's still not a bad option, but probably the only other move I'd consider on this particular set, like an offensive Dynamax set, would be U-Turn. I'm a big fan of moves like U-Turn and such, so that's worth considering, I think. But I also wouldn't mind Protect, because I don't know if I'd use it purely as a Dynamaxer. But yeah, so I think a set like this could actually be really good, especially with priority max Airstreams and priority Tailwinds. Like that could be pretty sweet. And I haven't really looked at the calcs. Talonflame's the kind of Pokemon I don't always look at calcs with, because it's often just meant to like do as much damage as possible, go down, and kind of set up for something else to clean up in the back. It also can make a really good finisher, like a closer. Like you just bring it in when stuff's weakened and you have the priority moves. Now, of course, the biggest downside to the Gale Wings nerf is that its main attacking moves do recoil damage, and that definitely puts even more of a hamper on the Gale Wings nerf. So once you start using these, you're going to lose that, and that's where Roost is, I think, worth considering. Because, I mean, I don't know if it's always worth to take a turn to get the priority. And like I said, if you're just at least running Jolly Nature, you're gonna outspeed most stuff anyways. So, yeah, I think it's okay at that point. But yeah, I really like Talonflame as like a support lead type of Pokemon. But otherwise, it's a really straightforward Pokemon. Like, you're gonna go usually just max speed, max attack, and then it's not meant to stay on the field very long. It's just gonna get out there, do some damage, maybe do some support with Tailwind, Quick Guard, Roost, not Roost, but Taunt or Will-O-Wisp, can pivot out. Like, it's got a ton of options. I think it will be a pretty decent Dynamax option, especially with a damage boosting item like Sharp Beak or Life Orb. Yeah, so I think I really like the idea of Talonflame. And you probably still could use Life Orb with the Max Airstream, because even though you lose your priority, you're getting the speed boost anyways. So yeah, so Sharp Beak or Life Orb, I'm a big fan of. I can see that. But that aside, even though it's a really straightforward Pokemon, I was kind of tinkering really briefly with like a bulkier set, like a more like supportive set. So I was looking at this interesting sort of like Psychic Seed acrobatic set, because then that way you get the more powerful flying move, but without the recoil. Granted, you have to lose your item to get that power doubled, but I was thinking, what if I ran like a bulky set that could still at least have its high-powered damaging moves? And I was like, oh, why don't we try like a Psychic Seed with Male Indeedee? Because I especially think Male Indeedee could be a really cool partner with this thing, and I'll get back to that in a second. So first thing I just want to talk about is I just went, okay, Psychic Seed, that'll boost that. Let's make it faster than base 110s. That's a pretty okay number I like to hit. And we'll use the Jolly Nature because you get more overall stat points out of boosting the higher one. Because, like, if I could show you for a second, like, let's say I go Bold or something, and I want to hit 179. Well, actually, I can't hit 179. I didn't mean Bold either. I actually would rather, it's supposed to be Impish. I actually can't hit 179, and ending up with, look at how many less EVs I'm getting overall by doing that. So by going with especially the much higher nature, you're gonna get more overall. So I can hit, so say I did hit 178, which I wouldn't. I get 2 points 1 point in each of those, as well as like way more points than what I would have gotten. So that's that. So that would be faster than 110s. You get priority, Tailwind, acrobatics, Flare Blitz to hit steel types specifically, and then Will-O-Wisp can kind of cover the lower stuff here against anything that's not immune to burn, which is fire types pretty much. So I was kind of thinking of that, and so like I mentioned, I was saying Psychic Seed, and what if we tried like Male Indeedee? Now this is just theory modding here, like this is something that would have to be tested, and this is kind of me thinking on the fly here and kind of think things up, but it'd be cool to see you guys kind of try it out and see how it works, build a team around it. Like if anyone remembers Drifblim Tapu Lele combo in 2017, that's kind of the idea of this. It's a little different, but it's very similar concept. So the idea is Talonflame can come in, it gets the Psychic Seed boost, so it gets the acrobatics boost, it gets the special defense boost, and I have the priority Tailwind turn 1, so Indeedee can start firing off attacks. So reason why I think this could be kind of neat is because Indeedee, first of all, it's got pretty decent speed, pretty decent special attack. You could try Modest, you could go Timid. I'd probably go Timid. I can look at Modest even, because the idea here, and my thought to this is this new move, Expanding Force, is really cool looking because it gives 1.5 times power and hits all foes under Psychic Terrain. So it turns into what is this? A base 120 spread move with the Psychic Terrain damage boost when Psychic Terrain's up. So, I mean, like, let's do the math here really quick. So you got 80 times 1.5 for the stab, alright? And then times 1.5 for the expanding force effect here. And then you have the Psychic Terrain boost, which, if I recall correctly, is 1.3 now. It's not showing it. I'm pretty sure it's 1.3. So we'll go with that. Yeah, it's either 1.3 or 1.33, but we're gonna go with 1.3. So times 1.3. Like, you're looking at a base 234 spread, like a 234 spread power move. Like, that could be pretty damaging to a lot of things, like, that aren't dark types. So that's where I was kind of thinking, oh, you know, that could be pretty cool to try that out. And then you can have Talonflame give it the speed boost, so it can just fire off that big expanding force right off the bat. And then after that, you got to deal with, the only thing you got to deal with is dark types, because obviously they are immune. So that's where maybe something like Dazzling Gleam come in handy, though its damage is not gonna be very good. But yeah, from there I would just round it out with anything else, like a normal, like maybe even a normal type move to hit them. You could run Trick Room as just an option there. Like, there's options there. But yeah, the one downside is the dark types. That's where some sort of fairy type would be helpful, but you know, can't win them all. So Imprison actually could be a pretty cool move to stop Trick Room. Power Split. Stat changes. Yeah, Power Split could be kind of cool. Yeah, there's a lot of Terrain Pulse. Oh, Terrain Pulse is actually kind of neat on this. Because at a base 100, it doubles and it gets like, yeah, that's kind of cool. So yeah, that was kind of my initial thought with the bulky Talonflame set, is run it with like a DD. You can also try a Grassy Seed with Rillaboom, but I think something like this really wants to just get off a lot of damage, and so this can get off a lot of damage, and then the next turn this thing can threaten damage. Not as much, because obviously that's not very good, but with this thing firing off big damage from the expanding force, this is just like, could like put it over the top potentially. That's the theory. It's got to be tested though. That's just me thinking about it. You could also just run, because like this would survive a Rock Slide from Excadrill. That's what's kind of cool about this set. Yeah, that's right. It does actually survive a Rock Slide, which is kind of impressive. I can double check that. Yeah. Oh, that's in DD. Oh well. But I was looking at it. It could survive a Rock Slide with this set from an Excadrill. And that's at Nod -1. But you could also Will-O-Wisp it. So that's thought there. But you could also just run something that's like Psychic Seed, but more offensive with the acrobatics. That's worth doing too, I would say. So that was just what I was thinking, like a bulkier set. But you could also run offensive and then just let these two try and go crazy early. Some other teammates that Talonflame would probably like, I would think stuff that really likes the Tailwind boost, but has struggles with things that are weak to fire or flying. So for example, like what would appreciate the Talon boost but struggles with steel types? So like Duraludon would be a good example. We've seen Duraludon and Whimsicott work together, because this thing's not going to hit steel and like steel types very well. So Talonflame can kind of cover that, because you know, Steel Dragon doesn't hit Dragon very well. Like, it gets Body Press, but that's okay. So I could see that. Something like Magnezone I could think could be kind of cool. Yeah, because again, like, it hits the steel types, it hits the grass types with the flying type moves that this thing doesn't like a whole lot. So I'm just thinking of like really powerful Pokemon that really want that speed. So like if I was to run a timid, like say, yeah, timid like Expert Belt, or I don't want to do Life Orb. We can even do Choice Specs. Just do something. I don't want to do Life Orb because they didn't break your own sturdy. But yeah, like something like Magnezone could be pretty cool. I'm just thinking of like special attackers. So let's go to the stuff that's, yeah, we're gonna VGC 20. Yeah, so if I just look at like special attack, Hattering's too slow. Oh, Porygon Z. That, ooh, yeah, that could be kind of cool. That doesn't like steel types. So Porygon Z, yeah, Magnezone. You know, I just look at stuff that could want that. Wants the speed and wants to hit hard. Like Duraludon, of course. Yeah, going from there. Or we could look at like higher attack stats, and we get things like, ooh, Darmanitan, like a choice band Darmanitan. That could be a little scary. And again, that thing doesn't like steel types. Grass types are just hosed by both of them. So yeah, so you could just find some stuff. So that, and again, that's what's kind of cool about something like, oh, you know, this could be kind of cool potentially, especially the fighting water type, and then this can deal with the grass types really well. While Urshifu, water type here, gets that speed that it definitely would want, and yeah, because it could even do something like this. Maybe not that, but do something like that. Yeah, you know, just stuff like that. Like, I'm looking for Pokemon that can take advantage of Talonflame's Tailwind, that also maybe attract more of the attention away from Talonflame. And then if they focus on Talonflame, well, great, you lose Talonflame, but you get Tailwind up, and you get Pokemon in that can threaten Tailwind. If they don't focus on Talonflame, now it can just sit there and do a lot of damage. And that's where I could see maybe the Psychic Seed set just going offensive. I was just trying to be a little creative, but yeah, like if they ignore this thing, you're doing big damage. So yeah, that'll be it for Talonflame. Really cool Pokemon. Try it out. I think it's a really good utility Pokemon that has some offensive capabilities. So it's not gonna stay on the field very long, but it can clean up, or it can, you know, start the process of victory early and set up for your other Pokemon to clean up. So yeah, that'll be it, guys. That'll be it for Talonflame. Keep sending me comments. I will figure out what to do next. Probably base it on your comments if I don't have anything put together already. So alright, guys, take it easy and have a great rest of your day. Alright, later.